Hi, everyone. Welcome to TEDxCMU's Virtual Innovation Expo. Today, we'll be chatting with Diane, Stephen, Mike, and Daylon of the International Dark Sky Association and learning more about their light pollution map of Pittsburgh, as well as some of their other initiatives. So let's just jump right into it and start off and have everyone introduce themselves and also explain what exactly the International Dark Sky Association is.
So, hi, I'm Diane Turnshek. I am a faculty member in the physics department. I'm an astronomer, an observational astronomer here in Pittsburgh.
Hello, my name is Michael Lincoln. I am a educator, a husband, parent, and a father to a son that's in the University of Pittsburgh's engineering program, and a very big fan of astronomy as well.
Hi, I'm Daylon Burt. I'm an amateur astronomer as well, outdoor enthusiast, love hiking and being up there at night under the stars, and current head of IDA Pittsburgh.
Hi, I'm Stephen Quick. I'm an adjunct professor at the Department of Architecture at Carnegie Mellon. I've been working with Diane for the last several years. I'm an architect and urban designer and also researcher, and I work out of the Remaking Cities Institute.
So would anyone like to explain what the International Dark Sky Association is?
Sure. That's something that I would also like to mention. I am the president of IDA PA, and IDA stands for International Dark Sky Association. And the main purpose of the organization is to monitor and reduce light pollution and therefore protect the night skies. And they do so in many ways, including education, policy, and working with folks to teach them the correct way, the proper way of implementing lighting in their cities and towns.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the light pollution map that you guys are working on. What kind of technology does it take to create such a comprehensive map like this?
Well, the first thing I needed was data. I needed to get some funding so we could get some equipment so we could make a map of Pittsburgh. The plan was to use off-the-shelf equipment, just a drone anybody could buy, an app we would make to control it that would be free, open source, and just take a drone and go back and forth in a preset pattern over the city to make a map. Well, Pittsburgh is 58 square miles, which is daunting for our small team. It wasn't quite what we hoped for. We did get the grant that we wanted. This was from CMU's Metro 21. And we did the first assessment, and we decided that perhaps an airplane flying low and slow over the city would be a better option. One of the robotics professors, Sebastian Shearer, has a Cessna, and we attached a high definition, very low light level camera on an anti-vibration mount up under the plane. And he flew a lawnmower pattern over the city, and we got a nice map. We have to fill in, but that's a start. And it showed that we are getting high resolution, and we are able to see all of the street lights and other lights, residential and business lights that we need. Going forward, the city is going to change out their street lights to LEDs. And so it's very important to have this map and then do an aftermap.
Interesting. So directing this next question at Stephen in particular, we just talked a little bit about having LED streetlights, perhaps the right LED streetlights. How do you envision that these LED streetlights helping with Pittsburgh's light pollution?
We've been studying streetlights for several years now, starting back in 2010 when the city asked the Remaking Cities Institute on a project that I led to write specifications for new streetlights. So we've been through 2 rounds of those specifications, but one of the most important things that we are looking at is the dimming controls, which will be added to the new lights. So that will allow us to regulate the amount of light that's actually coming out of each streetlight. And since they are individually IP addressed, we can actually control every single streetlight of the 40,000 plus streetlights in the city to either turn on or off or dim to whatever level we want. The other thing that this study particularly has pointed out is the problem of light pollution. And most LEDs are a color that's very much in the blue range, a very blue-white light. And their brightness and the reflectance of that brightness up into the sky causes what we call sky glow, which does not allow us to see beyond that and into the night sky. So one of the ways we control that is through intensity of light, and that's where the dimming control's in. But the other portion is the color of the light. We need to be in what would be called a warm white realm of lighting, somewhere around an incandescent light's color range or even lower, in order to balance between the ability to see the night sky and also have good quality lighting for drivers and pedestrians.
Cool, yeah. So, a lot of streetlights right now, at least in my city, are leaning towards more orangey, yellow. Is that something that's harmful in general to sky glow and general lighting up our dark skies?
Actually, the more yellow the light, the better it is for both the ability to see the night sky, but also for environmental reasons. When we get into the very bright white, the blue-white types of lights, and those are the kinds of, like we see with fluorescent lights and some of the very glary lights, there actually, medical science has been finding out that there are serious health problems, not only for humans, but also for animals and even the flora throughout. We're beginning to really understand that in much greater detail. So controlling that color temperature becomes extremely important. And sort of in the range, we don't want to go really yellow because we know we can't see colors very well, but around the lighting that's equivalent to about an incandescent lamp is about ideal for both ranges.
Very cool. Now, specifically for Mike, you and your son Michael actually have hobbies that align, which are astrophotography and flying drones. So what's it like having these shared interests, and how does this tie into your work in the IDA?
Oh, well, thank you very much for asking the question. It's something I'm always happy to talk about. It's obviously, when you have something that you have in common with your child, it's a great way to, build memories with each other. So I'll tell you how it really works out for Michael and I, my son Michael. He's the astronomer. He's the guy that understands the night sky. He has it all mapped out in his mind. He doesn't need the phone app. He just understands it. He can go from one point to another, tell you where you're at, what you're looking at. I'm more of the my background and my experience is not with astronomy, but instead my passion is with photography and videography. And that in itself got me into flying drones. I would shoot photography for clients and real estate folks. My clients could benefit from aerial shots of their buildings for sale. And so that's what kind of got me moving into the aerial business. But then my son and I, we'll go on trips together, and we'll go to night sky locations. And at those locations, we will practice and enjoy and learn from each other our passions, photography and drone photography and flying drones. So, for example, one place we like to go to quite often is called Thorny Mountain Fire Tower. And that's located in West Virginia in the Seneca Forest. And Seneca Forest mountains shield the cities around that area. So the night sky is really dark and you can see quite a bit. And what's nice about that is, my son not being into photography, not having an interest or passion in it to begin with, he realized that whenever you implement the technology in cameras to do long exposures, when you take long exposures with cameras, you can actually beat light pollution you can fight light pollution through your camera and be able to see things, pull out things in the sky that you would not be able to see with your naked eye. So he then got into my passion, into my hobby. And then in turn, when he's taking me to these locations because he wants to see more objects in the sky, these dark sky locations, I myself fell in love with and learned to appreciate the night sky. So we kind of, we learned from each other, and we kind of fueled each other's interests. And it's been a really great experience.
That's fantastic. It's so awesome to see when two people's interests align, and in this specific way, it worked out so well, it looks like. Now directing it to Daylon, what are some of the things that you needed to do in order to become an astrophotographer? And what are some of the things that everyday people are missing in regards to our night skies?
Hey, thanks for that question. So aside from the technical side of learning it, travel has to be part of the it. So I live in the north side, about 2 blocks from Mattress Factory. And if you've ever seen that building at night, they got those big light bars on it. And I can't take pictures of the Milky Way just like the one I have here behind me. I can't do that from my backyard. So I have to travel, and with the traveling comes scheduling, because I still have a full-time job. And people don't realize, with the things people are not thinking about, people don't realize how far that travels. When you leave your porch light on, you have to go hundreds of miles away for the light pollution not to be very visible to the camera. So I would say just driving. It's driving and scheduling it. I can't just pop out back and do it.
True, yeah. Hope we're trying to get there, though. We're trying to get to the point where you could just do it wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this kind of begs the question, what got you guys into being an advocate of the dark skies?
Well, I could answer that for myself. Again, I wasn't initially into astronomy or the dark sky because, well, to be frank, I didn't know it really existed. In my growing up in the city of Pittsburgh, where I grew up, I was pretty much in an area saturated with light. So my son, being in that relationship with my son, where we would travel and enjoy each other's hobbies together, I got to be exposed to it for the first time, and recognizing what I was missing, knowing what others have never seen and will continue to miss out on as these dark sky locations continue to dwindle if we don't take action. I realized that it's a worthwhile cause in many areas, not just being able to visually see stars, but as Steve mentioned earlier, there's a lot of areas where controlling lights and light pollution is really beneficial to the human race in general.
So for me, astronomy has always been a hobby ever since I was a kid. And I remember when I was around 7 or 8 years old, the place I was living is Pleasantville, Pennsylvania. And that's right on the edge of the Allegheny Forest. And of course, the forest is dark. So I was able to see a lot of things from the backyard. But then coming down here, when I got back into astronomy a few years ago, going to the observatories here, it's way more light polluted than it was up where I grew up. And it just got the train, moving on. All right, what can be done about this? And then I heard about the IDA, and then Diane, and then, well, the snowball kind of rolled down the hill from there.
Well, I got interested in it. Diane, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, my TEDx Pittsburgh talk from 2015 tells all about how I got involved in this. It's about light pollution and light pollution solutions. But the short answer is I'm an observational astronomer, and I've been teaching astronomy here in Pittsburgh since 1981. And in that time, I've seen the students go from knowing what the Milky Way was to now they hardly know what stars are. And it's such a change. And so I want to bring this love of the sky to everybody. I had no idea that to do that would include me learning about medical stuff and how blue light affects your circadian rhythms, how safety and lighting, this is where Stephen Quick and I got involved together on this path of light pollution mitigation. I didn't know about how it affects your carbon footprint and all the energy that's wasted. Like billions of dollars a year are spent just lighting the undersides of birds. And so I had to learn how to public speak, how to learn all this stuff. All I want to do is see stars. So.
Well, I had two experiences as a young adult. One was in the Gold Rush Hills of California, and the other was in Western Connecticut, where actually seeing the full night sky in all its glory just has always stayed with me. When we started work on the streetlights, light pollution was not in our spectrum of where we were going with the study. We really concentrated on the quality of light. But as I got into understanding the color temperatures and the effects on quality of lighting, I became more and more interested. And then Diane helped to open my eyes about the effects of light pollution and also how the streetlights we were working on actually are great contributors, and probably the greatest contributor to blocking out that night sky. And so for me, it was very eye-opening in a completely different perspective, and that's in the research side.
Wow, very inspiring to hear your guys' journeys in this particular space. So Diane, I know that you have a research course that you're teaching this summer at Carnegie Mellon. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, and also what are some of the projects that your students are working on?
So students, a lot of the CMU students lost their internships over the summer, and the dean of students decided that we were going to put together very quickly, like within a week, all these classes for the summer about getting them involved in research from wherever they were in the world. So they were scattered everywhere. We had students in Singapore and Thailand and London, so different time zones. And they were called experiential learning through projects. It was a 99-520 course, and there were about 15 of them, all different departments. And ours we called Sky Glow. This was Steve Quick and I put this together really quickly. And we had 15 students, and they did projects with us, and some of them did projects with other researchers elsewhere in the world. So they were working with people in Germany and all across the United States. The projects were varied. The PIT data from Allegheny Observatory's all-sky camera, we're studying that to see if light pollution has changed over the 9 years they've been taking data every single night. We have one student who took, there's an app on your phone called Dark Sky Meter, and she took the Dark Sky Meter readings and made heat maps of Pittsburgh, because we took readings all over Pittsburgh. And it showed a lot of variation, whereas light pollution maps taken from satellites, they don't have very much resolution like that to tell you specific points where it is dark in Pittsburgh. We found some interesting places where in the city it's actually pretty dark. There were so many different projects in so many different locations. One student worked with Connie Walker with Globe at Night, which is a project that it's a citizen science project that people around the world do. So we put all of their information, all their assignments, everything up on a website, and you are free to go see it and read 3 children's books they made about light pollution, and just look at all the creative projects and other research projects that they did. And hopefully we can link to that somewhere.
Definitely, we'll definitely link to it. Okay. Pivoting back to your initiatives as the IDA, I'm sure that you've had quite a bit of interaction with local government in the process to progress your projects. So what was it like to bring change to a government level?
Actually, we started back in 2010 working with the city on the streetlights. And actually, it's been a wonderful relationship, particularly with the city's leadership. Councilman Peduto at the time sponsored the study with Carnegie Mellon. and his interest has stayed keen throughout that. And we're now working with Karina Ricks in the the Department of Infrastructure and Technology, and we're finding that this working partnership has been excellent. And we both learned from both sides and so on, and it's been a true partnership as it's gone through. We are very lucky that it's been easy to work with local government on this one.
Nice. So aside from Pittsburgh, are there any places in the world that you think have done a particularly good job at controlling light pollution? And if so, what can we learn from these places?
I would like to speak on that. Yes, there are. And IDA will identify cities in states that, in cities that actually have reduced light pollution to a very good standard. And what we're learning from that as IDA PA and IDA Pittsburgh continues their efforts, what we're learning is that there needs to be a good amount of regulation in place, ordinances in place from the local cities. So it's kind of like, it's not a top-down approach to win this battle. It's more of like from the bottom up. So that's what we're learning. And when they do identify a place like Flagstaff in Arizona, for example, others are able to gain access. They provide information about the types of lighting they're using, and they're providing a lot of information and resources so that others can replicate their success.
Nice. So now a question for Diane specifically. Talk about your vision of a future where people around the world are now in tune with the heavens. What needs to happen for us to get to that point?
We have to get to a critical mass of people that understand that this is actually an issue. So it's an education problem. Education is just key for this. I run into people all the time who think I'm talking about air pollution or something else. They don't even realize that this is a problem in the world, and it's the easiest one to fix because you just turn the light off. So it's not like soil and water pollution. We've been doing an awful lot of educational things. We had a conference last summer at CMU, a dark sky conference, and 100 people came. We had speakers all day long. It just is something that has to reach people's awareness. I mean, you wouldn't leave the water running all night, but people leave the porch light on all night. And it's that once you hear it, once you hear people talking about it, you're like, oh, I get it. I have never once had somebody say, what? I like my light pollution. You can't take that away from me. It's like, it's just, all you have to do is tell them once. And so it's getting the word out. And that's why, thank you so much for doing this, because we are doing our thing here. There's very few messages, and we have to just keep repeating those same messages over and over. It's light pollution is bad for astronomy. Most people don't care about that one. Light pollution is bad for human health. Most people do care about that one. It's more expensive to leave the lights on. You are wasting money, and by doing so, you are increasing our carbon footprint on the earth. Most people don't care about that. It hurts plants and animals, through all kinds of different things. Their mating gets messed up, or predation, or hibernation, migration, like all these things really hurts. And so when you're doing the education, you just have to keep repeating these same things over and over and over in slightly different ways, and depending on who you're talking to. But that's the message.
I think it's very, very interesting that we are, as a culture, celebrate light. And light for us means vibrancy and aliveness and people gathering and all those very good things. And so what we need to think about is, how can we arrive at a good compromise to have both light at times when it's absolutely appropriate, and at other times to have lighting that is absolutely appropriate, so we can get the best of both the night skies as well as a vibrant lifestyle throughout.
Yeah, I think that, hopefully with this interview in itself, you're able to spread the message a little bit more. And I think it's also such an easy thing for people to be able to improve really quickly in their own lives. That's really awesome. So there's no doubt that this summer in particular has been very stressful and definitely out of the norm due to the global pandemic that's happening. So how has COVID-19 changed the way that you guys are working?
In general, it really hasn't. Pittsburgh is a very green city with all the big parks in it and trees lining every street. It's very hard to do light pollution mapping from above when you have so much tree cover. So we weren't really taking data at this time of year anyway. It's good that we have data from before, so you're just sitting at home on your computer reducing data, but we'll start back up again in November.
When it comes to getting the message out, it has kind of impacted us a little bit. All the star parties we normally go to out at the observatories, they haven't happened this year. Everything has entirely had to have been online, but when we're at an observatory and usually when I go out there and talking to somebody with my telescope, I'll show them something, but then I'll say, hey, if you drive 200 miles north and look at the same thing, you can see it much more clearly. And then I start going into the light pollution talk, and by the time they leave, they're like, I'm going to go home and turn off my lights. So it's impacted us on the face-to-face level on just spreading the message.
I would like to add there's some positive in that as well. As we're all probably aware, many people are foregoing their family vacations, and instead they're spending more time outside. They're buying kayaks, they're buying mountain bikes, they're doing things outside, boats. So they're actually getting outside more, and and it's a negative situation, but at the same time, I think our society is slowing down. The slowing down of our economy and society has kind of brought people back in time a little bit. When hopefully they'll be able to take some time out and look up and look around them and enjoy what they've been missing.
So do you think in general that things have been better in regards to light pollution due to COVID, or have things worsened, or is there no change that you guys have recognized?
So during the shutdown in April, there was tons of astrophotographer YouTubers, the directors of the observatories here. Everybody was commenting on how clear the sky looked because planes were grounded, people were staying home. Businesses didn't need to leave their lights on, so we were reducing our carbon footprint there. And the sky looked amazing then, but once things started opening back up, it's pretty much went back to where it was before the shutdown. So, yeah.
So if people want to get involved in the IDA and maybe some of the projects that you guys are working on, what is the best way for them to contact you?
Well, from the state level perspective, IDAPA, they can contact me, and the point of IDAPA is for folks. So if you're watching this and you're not from PA, but you currently, or you're interested in being an activist and working towards improving the night skies, you can contact me, and then I can share, or I can connect you with folks maybe that are in your area, within PA or even outside of PA, that have some ideas or some resources that would be helpful to you in your efforts.
So on the city level, idapgh.org, that's the Pittsburgh's section website. And you can also go to, I believe, let me check real quick. It is facebook.com/idapghorg. And you can find us in both of those places.
There's also an astronomy enthusiasts list that I run that's called pghconstellation.com. It's a website that just sends out newsletters about the cool things that are happening if you like astronomy and you live in Pittsburgh. You can join up and you'll hear about the IDA PGH meetings.
So idapgh.org and pghconstellation.com, those are some great starting points for people who are interested in this kind of work. Thank you so much, guys, for sitting with me and discussing this really important matter. I hope viewers at home learned a little bit more about light pollution and the importance of dark skies in this. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.